One of the dilemmas that seems to come up a lot is when going to see films like The Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit, is whether the best thing to do is to read the books first so that you can create your own pictures of what the characters are like, or what dwarves are like, what hobbits are like, and the Misty Mountains and Mirkwood and so on, or whether a good idea is to see the films first and then read the books. And people tend to be very divided about those two approaches. And some people say, oh, well, reading is obviously superior because I'm creating my own ideas. But in fact, ideally, I would say read the books first, because they are such deep works of literature and so readable. You'll need quite a few hours to read The Lord of the Rings, but The Hobbit you can read in a few days or a couple of days. Even if you see the films first, the thing to remember is that films themselves have their own language. They're not just giving you images, static images, so that you've got your mind's being invaded with these pictures of what elves and dwarves are like, but they've actually got their own pictorial language, so they are engaging your imagination in a different way. So I think that whichever way you go about, whether you see the films first or read the books first, you won't be impoverished by your choice. But the important thing is I would say, do both. Make sure that you read the books at some stage and that you see the films at some stage, because they all, for me anyway, they add to the to your enjoyment of an invented subcreation, as Tolkien calls it, an invented world. For Tolkien, this world was based upon his Christian understanding of the relationship between human beings and the world which God has created. And so if you look at the invented world that he's made, it's full of his understanding of Christian meanings, even though the world in which it's set is not a Christian world, it's a pre-Christian world. But there are elements in it like, say, Gandalf the wizard interpreting events, or there's prophecies which are coming true. Certainly there's a sense that events are not just based on luck, but even though there's real difficulties and dangers and possibility of death and so on, in the end, you can see that a pattern is being unfolding in the larger battle between good and evil. And deep within Tolkien is the view that good and evil are not equals, that evil itself is something which has been twisted from good things. And so when there's struggles with characters that are tempted by evil, you can see that they have good elements in themselves and good principles which are being twisted, or they're falling into temptation, maybe in The Lord of the Rings, to use the ring against the enemy, rather than taking the apparently foolish task of allowing the hobbits, Frodo and Sam, to go into the stronghold of Mordor, which seems a really stupid and foolish thing to do. And so Tolkien is playing with themes which actually hark back to older stories of mythology and fairy tale, which are dealing very much with a view of good and evil that's like this, that where good and evil aren't equal, but at the same time, evil is very real and has huge costs in people's lives.